Welcome, everyone. Today, we're diving into the incredible, dramatic, and just plain beautiful shapes of our world. We're going to uncover the story that's literally written on the surface of our planet, a story of immense power and timescales that are almost impossible to imagine. So, have you ever looked at a mountain or a valley or a coastline and just thought, why? Why does it look like that? Well, that is the exact question we are tackling today. Okay, first things first, let's get our key terms straight. A landform. It's simply any natural shape you see on the Earth's surface. You know, from the highest, most jagged peak to the flattest plain you can imagine. Those are the building blocks of our world's geography. Now, probably the best way to understand how these shapes get made is to imagine the Earth's surface as a giant canvas. And on this canvas, you have two incredibly powerful, competing artists, two great sculptors who are constantly at work. And it's this fundamental conflict, right? One builds things up, and the other is always tearing them down. So let's meet our first sculptor. This one works from deep inside the Earth. These are what we call internal forces, the true planet shapers that build the absolutely massive, grand structures that we see all around us. And I mean, think big here. We're talking about the incredible slow motion power of tectonic plates crashing into each other, pushing up colossal mountain ranges like the Himalayas. Or, the fiery power of volcanic activity, building mountains from the inside out, one layer of lava at a time. A volcano is the perfect example of this sculptor's work. I mean, it's a super clear case of land being built right before our eyes, from the inside out. Molten rock erupts, it cools, and it creates brand new land, building these towering cones over thousands of years. But what happens to these massive structures after they're built? Well, they don't stay that way forever, and that's where our second sculptor comes in. It can take a huge, flat-topped plateau and, over millions of years of erosion, just patiently carve it down into a smaller mesa, and then, finally, into a single iconic butte standing all by itself. So yeah, let's meet that second sculpture. These are the external forces. These are the relentless shapers working right on the surface of the Earth, constantly carving, grinding, and moving material all over the place. The tools this sculptor uses are things we see every day: water, wind, and ice. Now, they might seem kind of gentle compared to a volcano, but trust me, over millions of years, they are unbelievably powerful. They're responsible for all the intricate, beautiful details we see in our landscapes. To really see this sculptor in action, let's just follow the journey of a single river. Its path from high up in the mountains all the way down to the sea is basically a masterclass in how to both carve and create land. So early in its journey, a powerful river can just slice through rock, carving out these dramatic landscapes. If you give it enough time, it can create a massive, wide canyon. In other places, maybe the rock is harder, it might carve a much narrower, steeper gorge. Both of them are just amazing testaments to the power of flowing water. Now, what's really interesting is that the same force that carves canyons also builds new land. At the very end of its journey, the river slows right down, and it just drops all the soil and sediment it's been carrying. This deposit builds up and creates a delta, a super fertile, fan-shaped landform. And of course, the ocean is another huge water-based shaper, constantly working on our coastlines. Through all that erosion and deposition, it creates all these familiar shapes, like a peninsula, which is still hanging on to the mainland, and an island, which has been completely cut off. And it's not just water. Wind acts as a sculptor in the desert, piling sand into these incredible, ever-shifting dunes. And in colder places, massive glaciers of ice literally plow through the land, carving out deep valleys we call fjords and leaving behind huge piles of rock and soil called moraines. So what we have are these two powerful sculptors locked in a constant dance. One is building land up from deep within, and the other is carving it down from the surface. And this endless cycle is what gives our world its dynamic, always changing appearance. This table really lays it all out, doesn't it? The internal forces, they're like the architects of the planet's biggest structures. And the external forces are like the artists coming in and adding all that intricate detail. It is this constant push and pull, this back and forth, that creates every single landscape we see. Okay, so this is all really cool, but why does it actually matter to us? I mean, how do these ancient geological processes affect our lives right here, right now? Well, at the heart of it all is this epic, ongoing battle. Our planet is constantly being shaped by these fiery forces building it up from within, and the forces of water and air wearing it down from the outside. The key thing to remember is that nothing is permanent. Our world is alive and always, always changing.
And this matters because these very shapes dictate everything about our world. They determine where rivers flow, which tells us where the soil is fertile enough for farming and where it's safe for us to build our cities. They even create rain shadows that influence climate and provide unique habitats for all kinds of life. They truly shape our civilization.
So, the next time you look at a mountain or a river or a coastline, remember those two sculptors. Realize that you're not just looking at scenery, you're reading a story that was written over millions and millions of years. Because when you understand landforms, you really do start to understand the Earth itself.